Okay, you guys, so I am working on the new stereo system, and originally this MasterCraft 197 had 3 speakers. We're going to go to a 2-speaker system, and there was some corrosion and stuff in the old speaker wire that was probably original 20 something years old, and I just wanted to have everything work really good. So I got all new speakers, new subs, new tower racks, and I'm also running new wire too, because that wire was kind of like corroded in some areas. So just a little tip here: if you're going to run these tower speakers, there are a couple holes in here probably already. Like there's one here, and then there's one over there where that wire came through, and I already ran these 2 wires here. This wire on the left hand side, you got to fish it all the way down the pipe here, and then into where your electronics are. And then the same thing for the other side, is you got to fish it from here all the way down, and then it kind of comes out like a little hole right there. And then you got to make that transition to go into here, because this obviously is a swivel bracket. So the wire's got to come out just for a little while, transition all the way down to there. And well, let me tell you, that is a pain in the butt, because the hole that comes down out of this tube down here is pretty microscopic. I mean, I don't know if you can see that, but then it's got to go through the hull of the boat, actually, right there. So you got the bolt that holds it on, and then you got a little teeny tiny hole right up here that you got to fish that wire all the way through. So there's not much room at all. I mean, this is 12 gauge wire, so I suppose you could go like 14 gauge if you want, but that's the size of the hole right there. It's even smaller down there where you can't get to it. So and then these 2 wires get connected here. I had to disconnect them, but those 2 small wires, they light up your top light up on top of the tower. So you got to have those. So that side, on the passenger side, was a little bit easier, a lot easier actually, because the wire just kind of like fit right through there. But over here, man, was that really tough. You had to run the new speaker wire, and then also the small power wire, which those are probably 12 or 16 gauge, I'm thinking, something like that. So what I ended up, I could not get the speaker wire through there, the 12 gauge speaker wire at all. And so what I had to do is I had to clip these 2 off, take these completely out of the bottom, and then fish the speaker wire through. And then I had to tape one at a time these electrical power wires onto the speaker wire and kind of fish it back up all the way through. But even then, it was a super tight fit. So I ended up having to use some just like Dawn detergent to provide a little bit of kind of like a grease, to get that through that little hole. So it was quite the job, and but hopefully it's going to be worth it. I mean, that's good quality wire now, and hopefully that will result in a really nice crisp stereo sound. So so I'll do these little updates every once in a while, but for sure that was really tough to do that. If your speaker wire is in good shape and it's a decent size, you might want to consider not replacing it up here. It is a really tough job to fish all that through there. It's just super tight in there. So, and you also had to unbolt the actual front part of the tower. So you got to get in there and unbolt it, and mine had a 5/16 wrench, which was fine. I have those, but it's just really tight quarters down in there, especially for an old guy to be down in the little teeny tiny you know, confines. So we got all that done. These are going to be ready, and this is going to turn out really nice. But I just wanted to give you that small update on that, fishing that wire through there, because it's got to go all the way around the front of the boat and then into where all the electronics are and the batteries and stuff over on that side. You can't just like take it straight over because it's a open bow. So you got to take it kind of like all the way around and fish it all the way through. So this one definitely tough on this side. So word to the wise. So one other thing I was curious about on this boat is, sorry, I was holding the microphone. One other thing I was curious about on this boat is like if it had a horn. So the dash had what it looked like to be a horn button. Well, I couldn't find it anywhere. So this right here is actually where the horn goes. That's the bilge pump right there. And that just comes off with a couple screws, no problem. But let me show you this. There was no horn at all. So they had disconnected the horn as part of, I don't know, whatever they were doing in the past. So here's the dash, and then the horn goes right here. I already kind of disconnected it, so that's the horn that I installed. I bought this, I don't know if you can see that, I bought this off of Amazon. So it's orange and white wire, and then the black wire as well. And I just hooked it up real quick, and that's a factory one, or sorry, it's an aftermarket one. So I'll get in there and I'll run the extra wire over to the front. 20 bucks, now I got another horn. So how fun is that? Okay, so this is the front of the boat, and obviously the captain's chair, and this is where the horn goes underneath. Sorry, it's a little tight in here, hold on. But you can kind of see it right there. So right there is the bilge, and then the horn goes in right there. So it's a little tight back in here, but I don't know, I'm kind of happy that the thing has a horn now. Got the little button going. So we're outside on the boat. Man, what a nice day. And I just want to show you real quick. I 3D printed those kind of like little clips. You could probably buy something, but I just 3D printed them. And I put it right there. There's a little black clip. And I glued it with some epoxy. And did the same thing over there. And then there. This is the front of the boat, obviously. And then also down there. So here they are right here. I just 3D printed them, you know. It's super easy to do, and that plastic's really easy to work with, ABS. So, but I wanted to do that because I'm going to be putting in the pads up here, the cushions that I redid, and once those are in, I won't be able to get back down into there very easily. I mean, you could take them out, but I want to keep those wires up off the ground, so to speak, the bottom part, and you know, just to keep it out of the water so they're not like being corroded and stuff like that, or at least have the risk of being corroded. Give them a little bit more chance in this marine environment. So I just wanted to keep them off the bottom of the boat before the water would go back to the bilge or wherever the hell it gets out of there. So that's why I did it. I don't know if it's overkill or not, but that's why I did it, because the other wires that I am replacing for all the speaker wires and stuff, they were pretty corroded. Although I'm just thinking now that maybe it was, you know, maybe the previous owners just weren't as careful. So, but I also, because there was just a little bit of teeny tiny cracking in the hull, I went ahead and did a new layer of fiberglass all around here. That's all new fiberglass. It goes up about this high, and then over to there, and then down here as well. So you can see that that's not new. This is new over here. So I mean, it wasn't like a ton. It was just like a couple sheets of glass, and the resin. Obviously, the resin, you know, went down into any little cracks and stuff like that. I don't think it was, you know, it wasn't like critical. It wasn't coming through, because there's the boat there, and there's not like a lot of big cracks or anything. But you know, I mean, that is the tow point or whatever right there. So, and it's the front of the boat. It takes a lot of, you know, pounding and stuff. So I just wanted to give it the best possible chance, and because I'm doing all this work now, you know, I'd like to have peace of mind, and also I'm doing it, and I want to get it done right, and it's not going to hurt it. So, you know, I had all the parts and stuff like that, the resin and the glass. So I put it down there. So that's another thing I did for the boat. So, all right, cool. Well, this is getting pretty close to completion. I got to put these pads back in. You know, this is kind of loose just a little bit maybe, but you know, you take these pads off back down here, 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 and here. They have screws that attach from like behind. So before I put in these speakers, which I can use to kind of like get my arm back in there, you know, like that, I'm going to attach the pads that need bolted down. I'm going to do all that before I get all crazy with all the rest of this stuff. So that's what we're going to do. Front of the boat here, we're going to be hooking up some of these speakers, and these are Rockville, and they're marine speakers, 6.5 inch two-way marine speakers, 350 watt. There's the ohms and stuff. So I mean, you know, they seem like decent enough speakers, and they got this little thing where you can make it be blue or red. My theme is red, so you do the little jumper on there for that. But the thing I don't like about this is I ran all new speaker wire, and I mean, obviously you got to put the positive to the positive side, the negative to the negative side. This is the wire it came with right here. And take a look at these connections. One's got this little dinky connection here, and the other one's got like a kind of like a regular size connection here. And they do give you the little wire, which has, you know, you can put the fat side on that side, and then, you know, the skinnier side on that side. right there. But my wire, I mean, this is like, I don't know what gauge this is. It could be like 22 gauge or something to that effect. And the wire that I'm running is like 16 gauge. You know, so it's like, you know, thicker and carries better sound and stuff. So what I have to do now is, you know, I got to thread, you know, the copper in the little teeny tiny hole and kind of like, you know, mush it around a little bit. And then I'm soldering the connections, which, you know, shouldn't have to do that, Rockville. Why don't you make these connections the standard connections that everybody has on like speaker wire, so you can like crunch it down and do the shrink wrap or whatever on it, and then you're good. Because nobody has these freaking special connections like this, or wants to use this cheap ass wire. I'm gonna bleep that too. So that's my little complaint right now. But so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna solder this one into place, and then also that one right there, and then I'll have it ready to put in the pads and stuff. I didn't want to solder in here when I had the pads down, just in case I messed up at all with that hot soldering iron and put a hole in, you know, the pads I just completely fixed. So that's why I'm doing it now. Right now, if I drop it or something, it'll, you know, it won't make that big of a damage. But I don't want it like poking a hole in the vinyl. So that's what we're doing. Okay, so I'm done soldering, and I just used a, you know, cheapy little soldering gun, or, you know, whatever this thing, soldering solder, and just did a couple beads on there, twisted the wires around through the little holes and around in a circle. Same thing there and there. And then I like to use these zip ties, so I know that the right front is the purple and then the left front is the yellow. And then all my other speakers are color coded as well. They have their own color coded, so they have their own color. If I run out of one color, I'll just double up, so it'll be like purple. So, and then the other end of the wire that gets eventually connected to the amps has the same zip tie on there, and that way, you know, you're not going to get it mixed up when you plug them in. So just a little tip, because, you know, I don't like using tape. I mean, tape's okay, but especially in a marine environment where it's like water and stuff like that, you know, tape, the glue on it's going to degrade and all that. It's just, you know, so the zip tie is super cheap, easy way to keep them organized. Okay, so here comes the real fun. It's looking great, by the way. So this front kind of like horseshoe piece fits in, fits into place. You kind of tuck it under this side piece. This one also just fits into place, and that can come out. And then same thing on this side where I'm sitting here. This front piece, however, this is the one that kind of like keeps it all like kind of like locked together, so to speak. So kind of like a I don't know, keystone, like on a masonry, like an arch or something. It's that last stone. This is it right here. Turned out really nice, the refinish. But let me just show you how it goes in. So you can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4 holes over there, and that corresponds to 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts right there. For some reason I only have 3, and there are these washers and these bolts right here. So basically the challenge is going to be me getting my arm back inside here and threading those washers and, like, you know, nuts and bolts and stuff into here to keep it secure. And then it's just a matter of like getting a wrench back there and kind of like, you know, jimmying it and tightening it. So that's what we're going to do right now. I'll probably be at this for 10 or 15 minutes. It's going to take you 2 seconds. We're in the front of the boat, and I'm going to stand up and you guys can see it. It turned out really good. I mean, all this was sprayed. That's just a little dirt there. And those seats down here, all that was like redone. I got that front piece right there that's kind of a keystone, is all like bolted in there. Got the scars on my arm to prove it. Got the speakers, brand new speakers, all set up over here. And then same thing on the other side over here. And man, does that look really good. I mean, that color is just so nice. I mean, like look at that color and that color. Just that's all spray painted, and then this is all spray painted down in here as well. And I mean, even like the speakers with the black, the white, and the gray just totally match the entire area. Got a couple little cup holders there, and I mean, it's really looking good up here. Got a little bit of a something going on there. I'm not sure what that is, but you know, that's where those two go together. I don't really care too much about that. So, and those pop out. So I mean, overall, I think I'm really happy with the way that the front end of this boat comes out, and I can't wait to hear that music coming out of those speakers. So today's project's all about kind of like squaring away the electronics and getting the sound system and stuff up and running. This old boat had a Clarion system and a couple of JBL amplifiers. I'll show you a picture of those, and they're kind of corroded and stuff, and they've seen their day. So I mean, technically they still work a little bit, but I wanted to upgrade, so I got a Sony head unit with 6 channels on it, and I got 2 new amps, which are going to power everything. Should work really good. So what we're looking at here obviously is you know, the front of the boat looking forward, and so there's the main battery, and then I got a double battery setup here. So, you know, I'm not sure if everybody runs, you know, extra batteries or whatever, but these are like to power the amps and stuff. So definitely more than just the standard, you know, head unit radio in there. So there's a lot of stuff going on here. We got the tower speakers, subwoofer, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 other, you know, speakers like that one right there. So they're definitely gonna be sound, you know, bringing in a lot of amperage, taking a lot of electricity to run. So the situation I have is that it's kind of cramped in here because I got these 2 extra batteries. And what I decided to do is I did run all new wire, but I have to have a place to mount these new amps. So I think that over here is going to be the location. These are all the new speaker wires right there. And the boat already had these kind of like little stops that were in there, so I just relocated one of them over there. I'm guessing that that was some kind of a tie down or something like that. It doesn't really matter to me. So the plan is I'm going to make a board that goes from here down to here, and I'll affix it into here, into the bottom of the board, and then I'll have like a nice mounting area on this direction and there, in order to mount the amps and you know, be able to access them, and they'll have enough like air and stuff to stay cool. So, and then up in this area here, up in there, I'll use some of that structural epoxy, and I'll epoxy a couple of hinges, and that will enable me to like compensate for the pitch in there, because, you know, like this side is straight up and down over here, but over here there's a pitch or an angle, so I'll have to put those at a slight angle this way. So I'm going to take some measurements, and then we're going to like just fabricate the board and paint it really good, you know, so it doesn't like warp or anything like that and get messed up with the water. Although this area shouldn't be too bad for water in here anyway. So that's what we're going to do. Just took a quick measurement, and I cut a board that I had laying around, and I think it's going to fit in there, and that's what I mean by those kind of stops down there. I'll probably just, you know, put some screws in and then fix it down in that area, and then up on top I'll get some epoxy, and I'll be able to epoxy that stuff in, and I think that's going to work pretty good. I'll paint this like a million times because it is, you know, or particle board basically, but I'll paint that a lot and get it ready for the water area. I know that it's not the best to have in a boat or whatever, but I could easily take that out and stuff. And that other stuff was crazy expensive. I'm not paying like $60 a board for that. It's ridiculous. I'll just paint this. So here we go. So we got a first coat of paint on here, and I'll paint that several times. Definitely taking the effort to you know, paint along the edges and everything, so it turns out good. And that's kind of a low area in terms of water anyway, so I think we're gonna be okay. But moving on, I got to, because I'm relocating, moving those batteries over just a little bit, I got to make a little bit of extension for the wire. I got some 6-gauge wire, and then got to make some battery terminals. So these are the old wires, and this is to run power over to the amps. So the new amps actually came with breakers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the old wire that connects to the housing and put the breaker in there, and then run the new wire from the circuit, the inline fuse, rather, not the breaker, inline fuse, over to where it's going to eventually go and plug into the amp. So so let's do that. Underneath the seat again, and whoops, and I need to connect these two red wires to that nut right over there, and then run the wire all the way over to this location where the amps are going to be over here. So sorry, got a lot of pollen out today. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to reuse these, because these are fine, the existing, you know, connectors. I'm going to make them the same length, and then we're going to just put in that fuse. Just wanted to show this real quick. I'm running the making the new wire, the new connection, you know, and there's a fuse that comes with these amps, and I just wanted to show you guys how nice these amps are, or these fuses are. I mean, look at that. That is a really nice fuse that's in line, that goes in between the batteries and the amps, and I just want to show real quick how that goes together on here. So I'm kind of like doing the footage myself, so bear with me. So obviously, you know, this is the wire itself, and this, I cut it to length and then exposed the metal in there, and then it comes with this little like grommet right there that goes inside, and that's going to be attached a little bit later. But like, look how nice this connection is. It comes with like a little extra sleeve that has a little bit of a port to it on that side, and then you line that up with the inside of this female part here. I hope I'm getting this on camera. I'm trying to do this all by hand, with one hand. Okay, and then you put in the set screw in order to make the connection. Okay, that's looking good. Like, look how nice that is. And then that fits right there, snug. And then that other piece comes up right there and like makes the waterproof connection. Like look how nice that is. Man, that is a, I hope I got all that on film. That is a really nice connection. And that just came with the amps, so I didn't buy that aftermarket or anything. So shout out to Rockgate. What kind of amps are these things? I don't know. I'll put the link in the description. As always, I'm not, you know, sponsored by these people, but that is really nice. It's really kind of unexpected. So nice job. We're gonna look at putting in this head unit for this Sony Marine radio that we're upgrading to. And the previous owner had a Clarion in there, and did kind of a hack job, in my opinion. Probably didn't have the right tools or whatever. Anyway, the new system requires this little sleeve right here, and what you do is it has those little tabs, like right there. There's a little tab. So I had to file out that whole in order to get that initial sleeve in there, and that goes in like that. And I had a chisel that I've had for a long time, and it has kind of like a rasp on it, you know, like a file. Really handy. So I was able to square up these edges and stuff. And the way that's designed is you put that sleeve in first, and then you slide the main unit into there, and then it has like a little bracket that comes along with it, although that bracket's kind of cheap and it already broke, so I don't know what I'm going to do about that. Might just have to super glue it, and it kind of cleans up the edges, you know, a little bit. So so that's that part of it right there, and then hopefully that will fit in there nice and square. So I'll bring that head unit out and try to dry fit it. If everything goes well, I'll push in the little tabs that are like right there. You literally just push those down, and then that pinches in there. So there's actually, you don't technically need any screws for this setup. I just don't know, that's a little tight in there. I mean, it does fit, but I don't know if it's perfectly square, because you see how that kind of like wiggles, so I might have to fit that. But technically there's no screws necessary. You just pinch those down. The other Clarion had screws on there, so we'll see. So hopefully that fits. So I'm just dry fitting the head unit that goes in there, and it does fit, so I'm happy about that. I was concerned that like the edges weren't going to be perfectly, you know, 90 degrees square, and that just kind of pulls, you know, in and out of there, and that sleeve goes on there like that. And then when you push the head unit completely up, that sleeve will go all the way to the front, and then you lock it into place. It has like special little clips, so once you get it in there, it's freaking in there. Okay, so the reason I bought this head unit is that it has 6 channels, so 2 you know, front and rear, has a microphone, and it seemed to be a really good unit. I'm always very happy with Sony, so I bought that unit for that. It's a marine unit. It was a little bit more than the rest of them, and it got pretty good reviews. The one downside I don't like about this is the remote that goes all the way around to the driver's side, you know, to like turn up and down the volume and stuff like that remotely. It's discontinued, so there's no hard wired remote, so you have to operate this thing on like your Bluetooth. It does come with like a little handheld remote that kind of looks like a television remote, you know, and then also you can pair your, you know, iPhone or whatever, your smartphone to it. But I was hoping that I could be able to run that remote hardwired, you know, waterproof kind of connection, and turn it on and off and do all that connections over there while I'm skiing and stuff. So a little disappointed about that. Maybe I'll still try to find a hardwired remote that is works on that. But yeah, it also has like a microphone and you know, all that other stuff in the back too. So I think it'll work fine, but just that's the one slight disappointment, that it doesn't come with that, you know, wired remote that goes all the way over. So okay, so I went ahead and I got just a piece of wood that I had. It's actually high density fiberboard, I think. So not ideal, but I went ahead and I primered it really good, and then I coated it with truck bed liner, and I really like that stuff. It does a great job on the truck bed. So this is going to be tucked away inside underneath, you know, the seats and stuff like that. So it shouldn't have a whole bunch of exposure to the elements, but it will be like in a marine environment, so this should suffice. And if it doesn't, it's just a piece of wood. I can take it in and out. So here is the piece of wood, and as you can see, you know, coated it with truck bed liner. You won't really even see that too much underneath, and unfortunately you won't see these either, but these are the 2 Rockville Atom 8B amps that I have, and on this side is where all the RCA cables go, and then on this side is where you make the connections to you know, the power, the remote, and then all the speaker wires that are going to go in and out. So today's the day. I'm really looking forward to this, so I'm going to go get it set up. I got all the stuff all labeled and ready to go. It was quite an ordeal, because I have a 6 channel Sony head unit radio, and then it's going to be powering these 2 separate amps that they themselves are going to be powering 6 or 6.5 inch, kind of like high to mid-range speakers, the white ones that are in the boat already that I installed, and then also the 2 tower units and the sub. So the plan is that on this one right here is going to run all of the 6-inch speakers, all 6 of them, and then this one right here is going to run the sub, and that's going to be bridged on one of the channels, and then the 2 tower speakers, which are pretty powerful as well, those are also going to be bridged on 2 of the other channels available. So if all goes well, this is going to sound incredible. So so I'm going to go ahead and do most of that, and I think on this one I'm just going to come back and do kind of like a vlog type of thing to show you what I did. Okay, so continuing along on installing these amps, I built that board and covered it with some primer and some truck bed liner, and I have it inside the area here where the batteries are going to be nice on this side over here now, and then over here is where the amps are going to be. So what I did is I bolted them to these little cleats on the bottom on 2 sides, and I did the 2-nut method, if you can see that. So the reason I did that 2-nut method is that this is particle board, basically high density fiber board, and there's a little bit of give with like these little rubber grommets down here, a little bit of give. So I think that these were probably used to strap down the batteries, but I'm reusing them to mount this board over there. And then up there on the other side, up in here, I'll go ahead and I'll epoxy some kind of a bracket, either like some strapping or maybe even like some hinges or something, so I could take that off and remove it if I had to. So I'll show you that in a little while, but for now I got everything roughed in terms of the speaker wires. I want to get the amps in there, and I want to get the batteries all ready to go. So I'll come back in a little bit when I got that done. Okay, got a little update. Had some rain, and we're coming back a day or so afterwards, and I got the first amp all installed. There's going to be 2 amps on here, so let me just kind of take you in and show you what that looks like. I did the rough end. So here's that board that I made. Here's the first amp, and then ran all the nice speaker wires all the way in the back, and I ran the new power coming from the batteries. So the negative goes on here right to the battery, and then up back inside there is the shutoffs for the positives. So that's one side is hooked up and the speakers are hooked up. Sorry about that. One side's hooked up and the speakers are hooked up, and then some of the speakers were running to the engine cavity, so like right there, and those had to run underneath the engine or motor, and then down through this little hole down here. So I went ahead and I put this protective sheath over it and kind of ran it over, and that will be protected and kind of like out of the way. I'll kind of like put that on the floor or something. So I did the best I could with protecting all those wires right there, keeping them out of the way. And I think all in all looks pretty good. I'd like to get this out for the season, so if there's something that's out of kilter just a little bit, I can always come back at some other point in time and kind of move those wires around a little bit. But for now, I'm really happy with the way it looks. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get the second speaker installed, and on this one it's going to be the 2 towers and also the subs. One sub, which is big, I think 10-inch sub. Should be pretty nice. And those are all going to be bridged. So whereas the speakers that were for the 6-inch speakers, those are not bridged, and just because they take less power. So one thing I wanted to complain about trying to get these people props if it's really good stuff, but I'm also going to tell you where the, you know, kind of goes bad on some of this products as well. So I got my amp, as you can see here, and then on the back of the amp, you got to mount these little brackets here. And so you got to like put them in these little dinky tiny holes like that. And they do give you little screws to use. I mean, like, look how small these freaking screws are. They're dinky. You see that? Little teeny tiny screws. So then you got to go out and you got to get like your little dinky tiny little tiny like eyeglass screwdrivers to put these in. So whereas in the same kit they give you, and I don't know why they do this, this is all from the manufacturer, they give you an Allen wrench to tighten the amp for smaller wires, and then they give you an Allen wrench to tighten the power connections that go there. So, I mean, hey, Rockville, come on. You're giving us the Allen wrenches for that. You know, provide the little teeny tiny stinking screwdriver that probably costs less than an Allen wrench to produce with the kit. I mean, I have one, but come on, it's ridiculous. Okay, so real quick, if you guys don't know what how to set up wires to go into an amp, it's going to show you just a real simple difference between how you set up these wires and what bridged means. So, as you can see, there are different holes. So this one right here and this one right here, that would be channel 1. Okay, so that's what that means. So you would literally put in like the red wire there and the black wire there from your speaker if you just wanted to use channel 1. But if you wanted to have more power go to that particular speaker, you would put your red wire here where it says positive, and your black wire there, right there, where it says negative. And that, instead of using just one channel, now you're using channel 1 and channel 2. See how it says bridged right there? So your red wire would go there and your black wire would go there to bridge it. And because this amp right here is going to use, or it's going to power the tower speakers, which are bigger and take more juice, as well as this amp is going to power the sub. I'm bridging those 3 speakers, and the other amp is not bridging the smaller, you know, 6 speakers that are smaller. So that's why I'm doing it this way, and also that's according to the Sony's recommendation for how to run a 6-channel radio, okay, or as they call it, a head unit, okay. So sometimes you don't need to use an amp if you have a really good head unit, or even if you do have a very good head unit, then you would want to run an amp if you really want to have some good power and some really powerful sound coming out of all the speakers, you know, when you're skiing or whatever you're doing, going down the road, whatever. So that's how you get it set up. And then something else to point out real quick, you know, this would be your red power coming in. This would be typically your black ground or negative wire, and those are the 6-gauge wires that I showed you before. And then this right here, it says REM, R-E-M. Can you see that? So that's called your remote control, and that is typically the blue wire. And I have that, you'll see that in there already, or have noticed it. And that actually goes also to the radio, aka the head unit. And so when the head unit turns on, then it turns the signal to the amps to turn on. So so that remote is kind of like an on-off switch. So your amps just aren't on all the time, and it will, you know, prematurely wear. So that's what that wire does. So it's good. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna get this roughed in, and then I'm gonna come back and we're gonna do the little kind of go over. Okay. Whew, man, it is tough getting back in that little corner, but it's looking really good in there. I don't have the head unit installed yet, the radio, but I got the amps installed, and then I also kind of like tucked up some of the wiring and stuff back up there and secured it. So let's take a look. I brought my flashlight because it's a little dark. So So obviously those are the 2 amps that we got installed. Got all the wires as protected as I could. And then back up in here, I'll finish screwing those in. But again, trying to strap down as many wires as possible because, you know, the boat goes over waves and stuff. Got it all zip tied and up off the ground, or I guess the bottom, as much as I can. And that's all because, you know, you want to, they are electrical wires, you want to try to keep them up out of the water as much as you can. So it's really tight working back in there, and there's some extra slack and stuff with the wires, so I just kind of like looped them up and zip tied them out of the way. If it becomes a problem, zip ties are super easy to, you know, take out and redo. But I'm really happy with what that looks like now. So now what we got to do is those RCA areas right there, and then right there, and also that white part right there. We need to run those RCA cables up to the new head unit and connect that that white kind of like universal plug up to the head unit, and then we should be pretty much ready to go. I haven't been charging these batteries or anything, so I should probably get them charged and ready to go. But next step is maybe some sound. Okay, so we have the second amp that's installed. We're going to take a look at that real quick, how that's set up, and then we're going to put in the head unit today, hook that stuff up, and if all goes well, hopefully there's going to be like good sound coming out of the speakers. So going back into the little cubby area here, got the Rockvilles, both of them set up and nice and secure. All the wires back in there to keep those from jostling around. Got the blue wire, which is the remote. Got all the other speaker wires and power wires going to this amp. And then this one down here has a little protective sheath on it. And then all the wires are, you know, they're a little curly cute back in there, but they are organized, believe it or not, and zip tied. So right now we're gonna install this part, which connects to the back of the head unit. And the way that gets installed is this is a Sony head unit. There's a face cover that goes on that, and then in the back you can see that there's the 6-channel for RCA. There's actually a microphone. There's the remote line right there, and then over on this side is that plug and play. So and I think that there's an antenna in there too, so that on the left might be the antenna, that hole. So I got all that stuff, and we're gonna try to get that all installed today. And where that goes is up above the seat. I already went ahead, as you know from the previous episodes, and it goes in this area there. And then I went ahead and 3D printed a bracket that kind of goes around here a little bit to kind of like dress this up, because the previous guy with the Clarion drilled these holes. So hopefully this will be, you know, good to go, and we'll have some sound the next time you guys see me. Okay, so we're getting pretty close to getting this radio head unit in, and I just wanted to show you guys real quick how I set up this, I guess it would be like a harness system for the RCA cables. There's a bit more than usual. Other people can use like a block that they have kind of like a splitter for the RCA cables. I found that for this application I just kind of created harnesses, and the reason I did this is because of space in there, and then also length running from the unit all the way over to the amps. I just wanted to make sure there was enough, you know, run and stuff like that. And really, even with the splitter, it didn't really cut down on the amount of RCA cables. So, having said that, this Sony head unit is a 6-channel head unit radio, okay? So what that means is that gives you more options to specify exactly where the sound's going and stuff like that. So I have a dedicated RCA cable going in from the, basically what would be like the subwoofer or low end range from the head unit directly into the amp that's powering the subs. And then the way I have this organized is that this set right here, and I already pre-marked it, so when I'm down in there, you can it says amp tower left, and that would be amp tower right. So those go into the amp, I know that, and the right and the left hand side for that. And then over here it's radio left tower. I just put a T there, and it's very similar, radio right tower. So, you know, I did that so when I get back in that little hole, and, you know, it's very tight in there and dark and stuff, I know exactly where stuff goes, and it should be all lined up. And then real quick, similarly for the smaller 6-inch speakers, it's going to be very similar setup. So it's like 6 amp, okay? You know, so 6 amp. Actually, this one would be, yeah, 6-inch amp, and then this one 6 radio. So that would, you know, tell me that these two right here come from the radio, and then these 4 right here go into the channels that we have already pre-wired for the 6-inch speakers. So hopefully, if all goes well, I know it kind of looks like spaghetti right now, we'll have some really good sound out of that, and when I come back, we'll hopefully test that and put on the front of the radio. Okay, so this should be the moment of truth here, you guys. Let me take the covers, makeshift covers anyway, off the tower speakers, and I hooked the batteries back up, and all the power should be running to everything. I don't know if the batteries are drained or what, maybe a little bit. But let's take a look at the setup in there. So that's why I guess you'd say like the house battery for like the starting of the engine and stuff like that. And then I got a trickle charger down here. And you can see like I ran this new line right here, split it off. I'll clean that up a little bit more. Maybe kind of like, you know, affix it down to the ground a little bit more so it doesn't break around. But I got my 2 amps. Got my 2 amps in there. And I got my setup for my RCA cables. The top one is again the it's the subwoofer, the big subwoofer, which is like 10-inch, and then the 2 towers, and then down here are the RCA cables for the 6-inch speakers. So nice and clean. I got everything kind of like, you know, zip tied and stuff up in there and out of the way. So, you know, you don't want that water being stored at all. So we're gonna turn on the power and hope everything goes well. And then also I got a special little surprise. I 3D printed a kind of a cover for the unit, the radio unit, head unit, and let's check it out and see what it looks like. Look at that, that's pretty cool, huh? I love it. That's made out of ABS. Let's turn on the power. All right, it's working. Comes with a remote. Tuner. Okay, so it does work. That's the cool thing about it. I might have to do something with that sound because it might be like copyrighted or something on YouTube. I don't want to get a strike. We'll see how that works. But it is super cool, and it actually has this blue background, which is kind of cool, and it comes with this remote as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and kind of dial in those amps to see like the best settings and stuff like that for it. But everything's working great, and I just couldn't be happier. So awesome.